This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Oh shit, we're recording.
You're going to have to put a thing up that says spoilers.
Hey, yeah, spoiler alert.
Okay? And then I'm going to give you the caveat that it's not a fucking spoiler because we're not... People who say you need spoilers for this particular discussion are the same people who bitch because they found out Titanic sinks at the end of the fucking movie. Okay?
No, not necessarily, because there could be new evidence that people who did not follow the case were entitled to seeing everything as it went through.
Up. But yes, Timmy has a point.
You can still put spoilers up, but it's
Timmy
real
has a
life.
point.
You can just Google.
You can.
You can.
But
if you could just Google,
find all that information. All that very biased information according to
then
critics.
why didn't you Google it instead of watching Making a Murderer?
I did Google it, and then I watched Making a Murderer and went, holy shit, I didn't Google enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, then I lost 3 days on Reddit.
Did you get into one of the fucking discussions on Reddit for it?
Several of them.
Uh-huh. Yep. It does depict the Manitowoc police as very fucking, at least, either inept at their job or corrupt.
Well, here's...
Or both.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it.
You watched it?
What?
Making a Murderer?
No.
Why not?
Don't you have to have Netflix or something?
Oh yeah, why didn't you tell me?
book.
I would have given you my Netflix password.
I wrote the book.
He wrote the book.
Touche.
Remember?
Did you
I
watch
said-
it?
My wife's done with it.
Get her out here. Okay, so my first, I watched it.
To be fair, it's
Did he
10 hours
do it?
worth of footage.
Did he do it?
10 hours?
Yeah.
It's
I'm watching
It's
nothing
like
for
10,
10
Okay.
hours.
10-hour long episodes.
That's like my whole day.
That's a lot of fun. I watched it one night into the next
I don't
day.
even sleep that many hours.
It took me 2 days to
Yeah.
watch. Mostly because Michelle couldn't stand
Sit
it
and
because
watch it.
she cannot bring herself to consider that he may be an innocent.
Oh, I can totally do that.
I am not making a judgment one way or another on whether he did it. I have my own personal beliefs, and we'll probably get into that. But the most important thing that we should take away from that is that trial was not fair.
Yeah.
First of all, they did the big press release with, Ken Kratz, the DA,
prosecutor.
who argued that the police were above reproach and they shouldn't be questioned because police are ethical, yada, yada, yada. Later was busted for sending texts,
Sexually
sexting,
explicit texts.
and attempting to solicit sex from people.
Was it a defendant?
Yeah.
No,
it was
it wasn't a defendant. It was a complainant in
Oh,
a
there
domestic
some
and sex
25-year-old
abuse case.
woman. Yeah,
Uh,
it was a
3 of
25
them.
Oh, there was more than one.
Right, because it was
okay, the
one
one we
that
heard
came
about in
forward,
the
and then
paper
there
was
were
just the
more
one
that
I
came
know.
out after.
There was only one they talked about in the documentary.
So he said that doesn't have any bearing, but it absolutely
It does.
speaks to
It
his
bears on his
character.
character, which, yeah.
Which
it's
is an
totally
argument he actually
Unapproachable?
Huh?
His character, which is unapproachable?
Mhm.
Or is it just the police?
Yeah, the
Police's
police are the only
character.
people he defended with that statement.
But-
when you can't be saying these people are planting evidence and that they're dirty cops, you can't say that about cops. You can't say that about cops. They're family men and they're good people. You can't do that.
Does he even still have a license? Or
Yeah, he got suspended for 6 months, and now he practices law
They're not in
up in
Wisconsin.
Superior
Oh, okay.
because he was asked to step down as the DA.
Which is
Right.
still
Remember
Wisconsin.
that.
Right. He actually, at the time of the sexting scandal, was one of the members of the board. I want to say chair, but I could be wrong. Of the Victims' Right Council, which is heinous.
Yeah, maybe he shouldn't be there.
And so people were going on and they were putting terrible Yelp reviews for his law firm.
First law firm.
And then so Yelp started taking down all the one thing reviews.
Yeah, of course.
But this is the internet. So people started putting
They
five.
put more.
Well, they started putting 5-star
That are
ratings.
just horrible.
No, they're great.
Oh.
It says things like, hey, if you're a crooked cop who loves to plant evidence and need a lawyer, this is the guy for you.
Okay, yep.
If you're a
sounds like
victim
the
of
internet.
domestic and sexual abuse and want to get hit on by the person who's supposed to be representing your interests, contact this law firm.
Yep, that's the internet right there.
Fucking
That's
hilarious.
perfect.
I was on the Faceplace today, and you were in a discussion with,
Oh, it's probably Chad.
I don't know.
Yeah, one of the
And
guys I used to
I
work
don't remember if it was that discussion or one of the other people I'm friends with on there put something up about the evidence that they didn't
Yeah,
represent.
that was Chad's the one who said that. It was something like, I can't believe people are jumping to conclusions based on the biased information given in the documentary or something like that. I'm like, it's only biased because the other side never chose to give any information.
Plus, did you look at the evidence that they claim?
That Kratz
That
claims
Kratz
wasn't
wasn't in there?
Well, the
'Cause
only
there
thing I
is.
heard about was sweat underneath the hood of Tracy
DNA.
Trace's.
DNA on the hood latch, so you don't
Yeah.
know that it's under the hood.
I
'Cause
read
it's-
under the hood. That's
it
what I
says
read.
under the hood latch.
Okay.
There's
Well,
a-
originally it said under the trunk, which apparently he said later, no, it wasn't the trunk, it's the hood.
Well, but it specifically says hood latch.
Okay.
2 latches on a hood, 2 releases. One of them is in the car. You have to pop your hood release latch
yeah.
here
Okay.
before you can finger the other one.
Okay.
But, so there's that, but if you're going to say they planted blood, getting sweat is easier.
Well, yes.
Dirty clothes.
Oh yeah, true. Okay, no, you're right.
You pull some dirty clothes out of that immaculately kept trailer.
Yeah.
So, okay, first off, I'm going to say Stephen Avery is Schrodinger's criminal.
Yes.
He is
He's guilty
simultaneously
and not guilty
No,
at the
he's
same time.
simultaneously a criminal mastermind who can clean the garage and remove only Teresa Hallbach's DNA from the garage and the bedroom.
Did they come to the conclusion that she was killed in the bedroom or the garage? That was part of my problem was she was killed. They never figured
Actually,
out
she
where
was killed in
ever.
both places.
Oh, really? Well, because there was bullets with her DNA in the garage.
In the closing arguments for Stephen Avery's case, they said
For his the defense case. Closing arguments
the
for the
defense?
defense.
no, the closing arguments for the prosecution.
Okay.
They said in the Avery case that she was taken off the garage and shot.
But
In the Dassey case,
Right,
they
in
said
Dassey.
she was killed in the bedroom.
Yep, she was killed in 2 different places.
But they found no blood anywhere.
They found her DNA on a bullet that was in the garage.
non-blood
Not
DNA.
blood.
So there was not blood on the bullet that killed her.
Yes. There was
On
her
the
DNA.
bullet or on the case?
Bullet.
On the bullet.
There was like 11 casings and they found 1 bullet, I think.
Right, but they found like 2 handfuls of bullets in the yard. 22
Oh,
shells.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and like 100 of casings. They own a
Well,
junkyard.
they're
in
citing in
Northeast
fucking
Jersey.
guns. They already
shooting
talked about
rabbits,
that.
shooting coyotes, shooting
They're bored.
Yeah, the defense
shooting
of the-
deers, shooting
what
cars.
the fuck else is there to do in Manitowoc?
Fuck, it's 22s. Okay, we did stuff with 22s that shouldn't be done. Much like bottle rockets. But, so, okay. So, he's a criminal genius because he can clean the garage and remove only her DNA, not any of his. He found a way to make bleach only eliminate her DNA, not his, not...
Oh yeah, because they found his DNA in the floor of the garage because they fucking jackhammered that shit up into the big
2-foot
chunk
by
of it.
8-foot piece of slab they took out of that garage.
And found his DNA in it, but not hers.
For what? Why did they take it out?
Find
DNA in his garage?
DNA, yes.
That's
So
amazing.
They were trying
DNA
to
in his
prove
garage.
that
That's
her
amazing.
blood would have spilled and they cleaned
Because,
it up.
right, he cleaned it up so they took out a crack out of the garage.
Where they thought she would have been murdered. Because there was a stain or
By
something.
the way, you know that property was not actually owned by the Averys?
We did not know that.
No, it was owned by somebody else. Steve Avery was renting that trailer from someone else.
Okay.
Because Manitowoc, like Brown County, Manitowoc GIS is online.
Yeah.
You can go and look
Just
who
go check
owns
it
what
out.
property, who owns what lot.
So the trailer Steve was in.
Was not owned by him. So when they kept referring to it as the Avery property,
There's not
that
actually-
particular property wasn't any Avery property.
Next to it
Which
was.
I wonder when they went in, if they went in there after Earl gave them permission,
Oh yeah.
because Earl doesn't legally have permission, because he's
Wait, who's Earl? Is that her father?
Steve's brother.
Oh.
It's the first person who gave them permission to go on the
It
yacht.
should have been the person who owns the property.
Or Steve is
Or
the
Steve
renter.
because he's the renter.
But anyway, so he's a criminal genius for that, because he can clean all that up. but he's also a moron because he has access to
a car
crusher, which you wouldn't crush the car with the engine in it or the fluids in it.
Yes.
But if you don't
But
give
the car was discovered 3 days after she went missing. There's time to take a fucking engine out of a car in 3 days.
especially if you don't care about salvaging.
Exactly.
And especially if you want to salvage it.
Especially.
You know how that shit comes apart. It's called a torch.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, fucking
Oxyacetylene, you
Cut
just
that
cut and
shit
drop.
Yep.
So he had a car crusher but didn't crush the car.
Yep.
He put it in a single row on the outskirts instead of burying it
In the middle of
40 acres of junk
yeah.
cars.
Have you seen
But
the?
this is that's his actual parents' property, right?
Right.
Have you seen the top?
But it was
the
found
top
actually on his
graphic
parents'
map?
property.
With like the Google maps of that shit.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's fucking huge.
It's 40 acres.
It's fucking huge.
It's actually, the Avery Yard is actually bigger than the town of Michigan.
That's well,
It doesn't surprise me at all either. But the other thing is, they have a smelter on site.
so you don't throw a body in a smelter?
Right, because I have
burn it in
access
the
to a high
fireplace 'cause
temp
you know you'll get
furnace,
rid of
burn
it.
it. Burn it in the pit.
Burn in the pit and it'll get
Okay.
rid of it eventually.
and nobody complained about the smell.
Uh,
I know this is
I-
disgusting to
I
talk
can get
about.
that though, because the burn pit is a ways off.
It's 20 feet behind his garage,
Yeah, but the house and the rest of that is off the road quite a bit. It's at least like a football field or two.
but the Yonda home is like 40 feet away.
Yeah. Oh, is it not a Avery part of the
Look,
Avery
it's
family?
part of the Avery family, Brendan
They
Dassey's
probably
mom.
don't give a fuck. It's like, oh, he burned some state shit.
Okay, you know where I live.
Yeah,
If Animax is burning carcasses and the wind is blowing wrong,
you can smell it.
it fucking stinks.
Oh, okay.
There have been times where Animax has been burning stuff and the wind is blowing right, and I'm like, I'm going to Algoma.
Speaking of Animax, actually, I think it's called Sanimax.
Sanimax now.
Santa Man.
I was actually on the way, not to interrupt your story, but last week I was on my way home from work and I saw this semi truck and there's just something just flopping off the side. I went, what the fuck? It's a Sanimax. Edible, but not intended for human consumption. And I looked up. I don't know what animal was dangling off the side, but they did not have their tarp over the top, and this fucking limb is just in the fucking breeze.
Or the deer leg.
It was
I
trying
have
to
no
escape.
idea. Like, what the hell?
That's cow food.
So-
That's meant to be cow food eventually.
Or dog
Even
food.
the other cows.
Dog
oh yeah,
food.
or dogs.
But yeah, so Schrodinger's criminal because he's simultaneously a genius and an
fucking
idiot.
idiot.
But
Them showing the interview of Brendan what's his face
Brendan, oh my god.
leading a fucking, or it's not leading. That's when you're in court. Is leading the
Spoon
witness.
feeding. I
Spoon
think it's what it's-
feeding. Fucking the words you want him to
The
say.
wife actually told me about his interrogation.
What did you do to him?
God.
To her head. What did you do to her head?
Yeah, that was the thing.
What else? What else? What else did you do to her head? Not that. What else? Come on, be honest
Yeah,
with us.
be honest. Be honest.
What would your
Tell us-
mom think if she knew you were lying to us? All right, I'm
Oh,
just gonna
that-
come out and ask you which one of you shot her in the head.
Yeah, that was part of it. Just like, all right, I'm just gonna fucking ask.
Right,
you.
all right, I'm just gonna come out and ask
I'm
which one of you
frustrated
shot him in
now.
the head, shot her in the head, and he's like, he did. So,
Fucking A.
but after that,
And apparently his mom was never actually asked to come down to the court or to the wherever they were interviewing him. And he's a fucking minor, so I believe, doesn't she need to be there?
or a child advocate,
Yeah, someone
Should be.
needs to be there.
Mm.
I don't think, how is that legally supposed
because in Wisconsin, if you're 16,
Oh, is it 16?
16, you're
You can-
considered, you
oh.
could be considered adult culpability for a
Okay.
crime. You're still a minor, so
Yeah.
it's iffy, and I would have pushed
I
it.
fucking would have too.
But then, okay, so then they get this thing, and I don't know if you remember the press conference. I remember watching it live.
I didn't see that.
If you have young children, anyone under the age of 15, you're going
Ask
to want to
them
leave the room.
I was
And
surprised
then-
you said 15.
Really? Well, that's what the.
That's what
DA
the,
said.
yeah.
And then Ken.
I thought you were saying this show. I'm like, fucking really?
Oh, I took age restrict off of all the videos because one of the videos I watch normally, and they've got like 2 million subscribers, they say fucking shit and all that kind of stuff. None of theirs is age gated, so I just took
Okay.
ours all off. So.
Fine with me. But then he comes out, and then he gives horrific detail of what occurred. Step by step.
To the press conference.
To the press conference.
Before the
Everyone.
trial is over.
Before the trial started.
Before it even started.
Okay? And this is an interrogation that was spoon-fed to Brandon Dassey.
Yes.
Spoon-fed. Like, every detail.
And he is like the dumb side of Stephen Avery. He's not the smartest kid. He is not the sharpest crane in the box.
He confessed to murder, rape, and dismemberment, and then asked if they can get him back to school in time to turn in his project in 6th hour.
Yep.
And
Like
then,
right after saying, yeah, he shot her in the head. Is this going to take more than 20 minutes because I have to get back for 6th period and turn in my science project? Like literally says that while he's sitting.
And then when he calls his mom to tell her he's in jail, he says, "Do you think I'm going to get out tomorrow? Because WrestleMania is on."
Like,
He has no concept of what.
No idea what the fuck
Nicky
he
was
said.
telling me he's got like 3 points higher IQ than Steven had. Or
He
something.
is a 71 point IQ, 67 on like the written and 71 on the verbal or something like that. So below average, not mentally handicapped because that's lower than that. He's like above the line.
70 is the line.
Okay, he had 71 and like a 67, so he's like right there.
But anyway, so that they released the details. So then when they get to Stephen's trial, his lawyer says, "Are you going to bring Brandon Dassey in to testify? Because if they're going to use his testimony,
Yep.
they have to bring Brandon in because Stephen should have the opportunity to face his accuser."
Yeah.
No, we're not going to bring him in. We're not going to use his testimony at all in the Stephen Avery case. So then his attorney says to the judge that you need to instruct the jury that they can't use that
They
that
can't
they can't
remember.
they
I don't know. You have to.
they can't consider that testimony as factual because there's a big press release. Everyone in Wisconsin
Everyone heard
saw it.
that.
We all heard it. The news has been playing
Take
constantly.
that into account. Which
The DA then turns around and says, "Well, then we'll be swimming upstream." The defense says, "You should be swimming upstream. It's called the presumption of innocence."
that was a really good response. I like that because it is.
The DA says, and maybe it wasn't immediately after that, I think it was during his closing arguments, "Remember, the presumption of innocence is reserved for innocent people."
Oh, I don't remember hearing that.
No, the presumption
For
of innocence
everyone.
is everybody gets it. So anyway, the judge
fucking
decides that it would be unfair to the prosecution to give that instruction to the jury. Well,
So yeah, you take in the statement that is not submissible in court, but you still get to use it for the testimony.
and the big kicker, the other thing is, and I said this to Michelle, I really wish we had the death penalty. Because if Stephen Avery got the death penalty, he would actually get an appeal.
Oh, okay.
Because his first
He'd get a number of appeals.
Right. His first call to the court, his first motion, went before the same judge. So, yeah, he's going to admit he made a mistake.
Yeah.
The same Manitowoc judge. Or no, it was a man. It was
Well,
in
a lot of-
Calumet
It was
County.
Calumet.
But
But it was a Manitowoc judge, honestly.
It was a Manitowoc jury, I know for sure. But during that during one of the press conferences, the Calumet County Sheriff comes on and he says, because it's the Avery family, Manitowoc has turned the investigation over to us. They are not involved in any way other than to bring us the equipment that we need. Okay? Every piece of evidence that they found,
Was it
everyone that's
was
remotely
was
credible,
key.
right? Every
The-
key piece of evidence, the key,
The
car.
The
car was found
owned
by
a
somebody
citizen.
else, by a citizen, but it was Manitowoc who had custody of it.
Oh, it was Manitowoc customer. Yes.
I was gonna say, how the hell do you sneak a car?
Well, hang on, because it gets good. Because you didn't see it, I get to share with you all the fun things.
Well, I'll watch it, but
You should. And the bullet and the key were actually found by the same Manitowoc cop
The bullet in the garage.
that they had searched 5 times before and didn't find the bullet. The key they found on the 7th search. 7th.
Yeah.
The 3rd time they took the bookcase apart, the key was
Well, they didn't take it apart. They took everything
Out
out
of it.
of the bookcase. They didn't move it away from the wall, presumably, and that's when they found the key. Was when they moved it away from. But it took them 30 fucking times to pull it off of the wall.
I had heard when the wife was watching it, they'd asked the cop, was the key there? The one who wanted, and he's like, no.
Yeah, there was. I can't remember which cop it was, but he's like, was there the first time you searched?
Nope.
Was there the second time you went in there? Nope. It's like, all right then.
The one cop showed up on scene. He testified in the first statements that he made back in November. That, okay, first off, the only lady who was given a camera to take pictures happened to be the one who was sent to the Avery Yard and happened to be the one who found the car.
From the search party of Manitowoc citizens.
The ex-boyfriend and roommate organized a search.
And
They
gave
one camera
to the
out,
person
and it
who found
happened
the
to
car.
go to the person who found the car.
I mean, happenstance, it happens.
One of the Manitowoc County cops made a phone call to the sheriff's department while on duty. A phone call. The dispatcher picks up, they played the call.
Yep.
Hello, Manitowoc Sheriff's Department. Hi. Oh, hey, Andy.
Yes.
Hey, can you run a plate for me? King, William, Sam, I don't remember, 285, whatever the numbers are. And the lady's like, oh, that comes back in a missing person. And he's like, oh, okay. That's a 99 Toyota. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
Hangs up. Okay, first off, if you're on duty, that's not how you call a plate in. You go, 104 to dispatch.
Yeah.
I need a 1028.
Off the plate.
And then you rattle off the
Rattle
plate.
off the plate, yeah.
Wisconsin plate, King, William, Henry.
And usually you do that when you're looking at the car that has the plates.
Well,
especially if you can name the name of the car after she confirms that's a license plate of a stolen vehicle.
So
That seems a little fucking
he didn't
fishy.
remember why he called that in 2 days before Teresa Hallbach was even reported missing.
To be fair, they were asking him like 6 months later, so he might not remember it.
Right. Maybe.
Same reason why his answers of I showed up to the to the missing vehicle at 2:30 instead of
It was
6:30 when
that
he said the
was
second.
like-
No, that was Lang. Was that different guy?
Kohlberg is the one who
Okay.
called it in the
Yeah,
first
then
time.
that was Lang's thing. I showed up at 2:30 before or at the time a log wasn't being kept. But this time he says he shows up at 6:30 where there would have been a fucking log kept, and he wasn't signed in, but he signed out. He never showed up on scene, but he left the scene.
Right. It just
There's just a whole bunch of shit that made them
and
not funny.
he's a Manitowoc County cop. He shouldn't have fucking been there.
Yes.
Because they were being sued for $36 million. What most people don't know is the city of Manitowoc, their insurance had said, we're not covering that.
Oh, really?
They said, we're not paying for it because you didn't do your due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to pay that account. So the $18 million that was lawsuit against the sheriff's department as a whole, the city would have had to cover out of pocket. And the other $18 million that was against individual officers in punitive damage,
Police department?
the individual officers would have been responsible for.
Good know that he's in jail.
Now that he's in jail.
Well, they already settled that case anyway.
Well, they settled it because he needed money to pay for his attorney
Yeah.
for this case.
Yeah.
So
To be fair,
if you have
36 million was kind of
18
ludicrous.
million reasons,
18.
well, because that was the punitive damage
Yeah.
was 18 million. If you personally have 18 million reasons,
Yeah.
I like to pretend I'm an ethical person sometimes.
$18 million to make you change your mind.
Well, and I saw in the first episode, what was it? His uncle was in the Manitowoc Police Department, and his brother-in-law or his cousin's husband was also.
Oh, really?
On the jury, one of the jurors, his
Oh.
son is a Manitowoc sheriff. And one of the other guys, his wife works in the clerk of court's office.
Wait, is this Lank or Colburn or...
No. For the Avery's case. On the jury, two of the jurors.
Oh.
Okay, one of the jurors was the father of a Manitowoc
How the
sheriff's
fuck did the
deputy.
defense not rule them out as jurors
The-
then?
you
That's
only
their
get-
fucking
You
fault.
only get 12.
I know you only get 12, but you get a fucking selection of...
Right, but
Was
what-
that the best they could do? Was
what if
still
that
something
was?
great?
Because you're
tied to
still
the
getting
case?
people. They had that.
I suppose they all have to be Manitowoc people. 'cause they
They have to be Manitowoc, or they didn't
Or-
have to be, but they were pulled
They
for
were.
Manitowoc. Did you read that questionnaire?
No, for the jury, I
Yeah.
assume?
First off, I'm not from Manitowoc, and I recognize names of the. Do you know any of these people?
Oh, okay.
And I recognize names besides
Steve
the Averys,
yeah,
and
the obvious
Blank and
ones.
Colburn and the sheriff. I recognize not obvious names.
Yeah.
Not a lot of them, but anybody from Manitowoc probably recognized more.
I'm
Because
sure.
if you called me for a jury, do you know these people who lived in Algoma in 1985? Fucking A, I know
Fuck
every
yeah,
one
yeah.
of them.
yeah.
I know them all.
No shit.
Now, Manitowoc is bigger than Algoma. Well, about like 5 times
A little
bigger.
bit bigger.
It's like 30,000 people.
Yeah, it's a bit.
So like 10 times bigger. But it's still,
It's still a small. It's still
It's not
a
Green
small
Bay.
town, Wisconsin.
it's not Green Bay.
It's not
Green Bay is
Green
not
Bay is not
big
a city. No, it's not. It's a small town
What are
city.
the biggest in Wisconsin?
Third largest in the city, in the state.
In the city.
In the
Third
city.
largest in the third largest in the state. But yeah, so just totally fucked up. So they didn't get a fair trial.
No, that's my biggest problem with it. I won't say whether he's guilty or not. I'm just saying the trial was shitty. The case, the evidence collection was shitty. Everything about it was shitty.
Did you hear supposedly anonymous?
It wasn't real though.
It wasn't.
Oh, what they tried to do.
I saw it on the news.
Somebody-
some evidence or something.
No, somebody created a Twitter handle, Op Avery Dassey,
Okay.
and claimed to be with Anonymous and that they were hacking to release information. But it turned out to be
Didn't
a
happen.
hoax.
Okay.
I kind of wish it was,
I wish it was too. Anonymous does good things.
but it turned out to be a hoax. And they didn't find out until the guy said GhostSec is going to take over from here. And you take GhostSec, and they're like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
And then everybody, oh, no, that's a hoax.
Yep, that's a hoax. Done with that then.
And there was no YouTube video.
Yes, there usually is a press release YouTube
There's
video.
Guy Fawkes
Almost
usually comes in
always
and
is.
says,
Usually,
Sheriff Department, we are anonymous, we are legion.
we do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
That happens.
That always happens. There's always a press release.
That didn't happen, which made me leery to begin with. I was hopeful, but I
So, how can they not? They have to know who Anonymous is. How can you not know who?
Well,
Anonymous is?
Anonymous
it's
is
not organized.
It's not a person.
It's not a person. It's not a group. It is a group, but it's not an organized group. There's no leader.
How
There's no
Anonymous
nothing.
works is you go to 4chan B.
You go to anywhere.
Well, yeah.
4chan's home
4chan
base.
is home base.
Was home base. It isn't anymore.
You go to all these message boards. There's an IRC even,
Yep. There's an IRC.
and you go and they just go, hey, these are people we think should be fucked with,
Go ahead and fuck with them.
and everybody else goes, okay, and one of the
If
members
they have a
in the
website,
Anonymous group-
someone says, okay, everybody, this group, all of us, why don't we DDoS their website and take it down? They have a Twitter handle, so why don't you guys hack their Twitter handle and start fucking putting messages up that are derogatory towards them. You guys go find their Facebook page and hack their Facebook and do this to them. It's just a bunch of people that come together
and then somebody's like,
agree.
oh, I'll make the YouTube video.
Yep, and one guy goes, yeah, sure, I can make that. No problem, I got a Guy Fawkes mask.
Right, it's just a whole bunch of
It's
people
just a-
sitting together in a chat room doing what we're doing right here.
It's a bunch of me with nothing better to do. It's a bunch of people like me.
But you need sign-ins and all that crap to do a lot of this shit.
To like log to get into hack Facebook
Really?
and Twitter. And
With
all
Facebook?
That. Facebook's really fucked. Everything's really easy because of security questions. If you have someone's Facebook and a site that uses a I forgot my password type thing, Facebook will almost always give you every answer you need.
Or
to-
LinkedIn or Monster, because everybody's got a
anything.
resume online now.
What's your mother's maiden name? What was your first pet's name? What's your birthday? Those are the secret questions that everybody gives away that
Think
shit
about
on
it.
Facebook.
Think about it. Everybody's wife lists first name, married name, or maiden name in parentheses,
Mhm.
last name. And Facebook wants you to connect with your family, so you pull up Tim's profile and go, oh, there's his mother. Click, first name,
Hey!
married name in
Mom maiden
brackets,
name.
last name. Oh, there's your mother's maiden name.
So it's not hard.
Hometown.
It's really not
That's
hard.
on Facebook.
Hometown's another one, yeah.
Oh, his parents still live in the same hometown he listed on Facebook. I bet you their address works.
What was your first high school?
Whitepages.com.
Yep.
Done.
High school's really easy, especially for Wisconsin.
So what
Where'd you
about
go to
people who
school?
don't actually?
Well, then you actually need to get somebody who might know hacking. Something less than just doing a I forgot my password, or more than I forgot my password. It's everybody's security is hackable.
But
everybody is. Doesn't matter who
here's the
you
thing:
are.
the weakest link in any security is a person.
Yes.
So, do you have a shop rag?
Nope.
You're a fucking liar. I was going to use it so I could throw it like Coach McCarthy. Challenge. Because how many people have Cellcom as their carrier?
Lots.
Oh,
Especially in Wisconsin.
A legitimate person answers the phone now. We don't have robots and automation. You know how easy it is to talk a legitimate person into I forgot
Versus a robot.
versus a robot?
I suppose, yeah.
That's always a weak link.
People are gullible.
And then once I have access to the account,
I
can look and read what you answered for your security questions.
I was about to say, have you ever watched Trailer Park Boys?
Oh yeah. Everyone.
Watch
Except
Ricky
the
play a
new one.
policeman. Fucking people
Oh,
are
that
stupid.
that is awesome.
I'm sorry, I gotta take your tire here. The fucker was about to explode. Got exploding tire situation. I gotta roll this one away. Let's go down to the car shop. Buy yourself a new one. I gotta get this fucker out here before it hurts some people.
I love Trailer Park Boys. They put out a new one this last year.
Is it? Hey, I've watched all of it on Netflix.
I mean, that's...
The kid is actually the one who told me, Dad, did you watch this new one? There ain't a fucking new one. It says it came out in 2015. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yep. Catch the fuck up.
But I mean, think when we called... when we were
I
kids.
get your point. Get back to your everything.
So yeah, that's the anonymous. It's just a whole bunch of people doing good for the world. What they feel is good. Like the thing with ISIS, where they took control of a bunch of their Twitter accounts, and instead of posting pictures of them with their AK-47s looking all triumphant, they photoshopped duck heads onto them. Rubber duck heads onto them. Or little skirts and unicorns and rainbows in the background. They did that. That was pretty fucking funny.
But yeah, it's just...
It is a very one-sided documentary, but it's because... Well, and then I read in an interview with Kratz that he said he wanted, before he would participate in it, they had already released like a small bit of it to a festival or something like that, and he requested to see that he had that footage so he could see what they were doing, and that he would participate, and then they never responded to him, which, I mean, fucking...
Well, and you look
I
at...
think he would have been in more of an uproar.
You look at the evidence, they say, like, they talk about Stephen gave a false name to the auto trader. He said it was Barbiana.
For the car that was
car. But the car that she was taking pictures of was actually registered to Barbiana.
Okay.
So that's not a false name.
No.
That's the registered owner of the car is the person who's got it listed in auto trader.
Yeah.
And then they said he specifically called and requested Teresa because she's been out there before.
Probably because she's a good photographer.
Maybe they had good luck with cars she took pictures of. It's Avery Auto Towing and Salvage.
The interview I read, that whole, he called her multiple times to come out there, they tried to play that up like, you know, he had an obsession with her specifically.
Right. But then
Which
they
is shit, because if you ever need anything done and you know somebody who does it good,
You're
you're
gonna
gonna
call them.
you're gonna call them. You're gonna say, oh, you need this done? Call this guy because he's or this person or this, you know, whatever.
They said he called her number 3 times, 2 of which from a *67, using *67. How do you know?
Yeah, if he was.
How do you know?
That's probably.
How do you know? Don't tell me they had, because I've seen the phone records.
Oh, okay.
Her phone record, they can't even tell where her cell phone was at the time it was turned off. Because technology was so crappy back then. I mean, right now we could look and go,
when it's off because of the SIM card.
Actually, because I was doing research, I found if you know the Mac ID, not Mac ID, but if you know is it ESN?
Whatever it is.
For the phone, you can track any phone in the country. It's free.
Even if it's off?
Well, it's got to be on.
Okay.
But you can find out where it last pinged. Because I just tracked mine last night to see if it worked.
So they couldn't get her phone records or what?
They got her phone records, but all it shows is the cell tower that picked up the call, and then the cell tower that it was on when it ended the call. I cell and L cell, initial cell tower and last cell tower. You're in Manitowoc County in 2005. There was a tower with a whole bunch of antennas on it.
Yeah.
So both the first and last are both on the same antenna.
So it didn't have the number of the incoming call?
It shows the number of the incoming call, but if you star 67, it shows private.
But it shows it on the phone records. It wouldn't show it on the phone.
No, the
Well,
records
straight
they
up doesn't
have,
show
it
it
shows
because of star 67.
right.
And what is his show?
I don't know because they never released his record. It was never entered in, so we can't look at it.
So they don't know if it was in fact him calling.
Right. And
They assume.
actually, if they could prove it, I would think that they would have
I would
a
think
record.
they would have, yeah.
Because
And even if it's not in the documentary, it would have been on Reddit because everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm sure all.
quite
of it
honestly,
was
even
on
when we had our home phone, whether it was your parents or Nikki's dad calling or mom, sometimes it'd come up private. We know the number,
Mhm.
we know who they are, but caller ID it comes up private. Now why the fuck would you star 67 somebody
Yeah, that's
Well,
kind of weird.
but the other
who
thing is,
knows your whatever.
the other
they're
thing
calling
is,
for.
somebody mentioned this that he had his cell phone was unlisted, and the last call he made was actually from his landline, or the other way around.
Okay.
And how unlisted numbers worked at the time is they just auto star 67
Oh, okay.
because that was easy for the technology of the day.
Okay. There you go.
So that answers that.
Yeah.
Don't they call those burn phones now?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Then
The burners.
they said that he bought chains. One report said chains, one report said
Ropes.
manacles
Oh,
and rope.
What's manacle?
handcuffs.
handcuffs.
Bolts out, handcuffs, shackles.
Shackles. Okay, first off, unless he was at the Lion's Den, I
Yeah.
really don't know where you bought shackles.
Yeah.
But
Renaissance Fair?
they did find those, and Teresa's DNA wasn't on it.
Oh, they
But-
did find it.
Yeah, they found it and her
Um,
DNA wasn't on it. So they talk about, well, he bought this stuff. Well, who gives a rat's ass that
Yeah.
he bought it? First off, if it was just chains and rope,
You're a salvage yard.
salvage yard.
In auto, yeah.
There may be chains and rope within 50 feet of me,
Yep. Yeah.
and you're not a salvage yard.
Yeah.
You cut up my garage, so help me God.
Big old chunk of concrete.
No, I'm
taken
just
over.
saying.
Oh,
I have
hear-
chain and rope at home,
Well, just,
and I don't have
also
a
just
garage.
just because you bought something like that doesn't mean you're going to commit a crime. I could go buy a shovel, a tarp, and a gallon jug of lye, but I might not be committing a crime
Right. In fact, I've done that sometimes just
just
to be funny.
because.
So that in my trunk,
And
when
a
I
box
pop
of
the
condoms
trunk
and some lube. Here's what I'm buying today. Don't look
So
at
they
it.
convicted him mostly on circumstantial evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and Brandon Dash
And
inadmissible
the
testimony,
testimony.
and the key they found, not only did it
Oh,
show up
yeah.
the 7th time, it only had his DNA on it.
So your keys that you have in your pocket every day that you use for your truck will not have your DNA on them after how long? did
And
you
don't have a house key on them.
And well,
No,
whatever.
Well, that's
That's
because I buy Stephen Adrie brand bleach.
There you go. Yeah, that
Right.
removes all
Because-
DNA except his own.
Schrodinger's.
I need some of that fucking bleach. That's
Oh,
good shit right there.
And the blood from his rape kit in '85.
Yeah.
They're like, well, look, we need to test that blood. So
It's not his blood.
Well,
they took a vial of his blood back in
the old
'85.
case.
Oh, not for the rape kit.
Yeah,
but in
they
the
took
rape
his
case.
actual
Right,
blood, yeah.
in the rape case. So they when that was sent to the state crime lab to be tested,
clerk's office.
that exonerated him. They
Oh,
only
yeah.
sent the evidence taken from the woman. They didn't send the vial of Steve's blood, which means Manitowoc still had it. Ironically, the same guy who found the key and the same guy who found the bullet is the same guy who sent the stuff.
the blood.
Probably just a
Yeah,
coincidence.
well, because he works at the office. He worked on both. Kate wasn't supposed to be working on the second.
So
one.
they get the stuff, and the DA requires one of the investigators be in the room with it at all times, which I have no problem with.
Yep. That's a transfer of evidence.
So, chain of evidence,
Chain of
right?
evidence.
So they get there. The red evidence tape that holds the styrofoam container with the blood vial in shut, cut.
Retaped over with scotch tape.
Yep. So the defense starts filming immediately.
Yeah.
Open it up. There's a hole in the rubber stopper from a syringe.
Well, supposedly from a syringe.
Well, what else makes a hole like that in rubber?
Yeah.
Why else would you do that?
And they asked the people who do the blood vial shit, and they're like, "Yeah,
We didn't.
Nobody does that. That's for putting a syringe in and taking stuff out. That's what that hole is.
And
Like
we
that's
didn't
that's
test
not when you collect the blood. It's covered. It's straight up a sheet of rubber. There's no holes in it, and there's a hole in it now.
Right.
But then they did a test on the blood that was found in the truck, because that's what they said was planted from that vial supposedly. But since it's in a vial, it has to have a chemical in there so it doesn't separate,
coagulate.
and they couldn't find any of that in the blood. But the FBI person who did the test said that the test was so, not inconclusive, but unreliable, that all it can do is tell you
It's a pregnancy
possibly
test.
if there is EDTA in it. If there is EDTA in it, there's a chance it will or won't show up in the test.
It'll give you a positive, but it can give a false negative, like a pregnancy test.
Yes.
So, because they're like, we made the test. Originally, they said it would take 6 months to get a test done, and they got it done in like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So they're like, they never established a threshold of how much needs to be present in order to work. Plus, like we said last time we mentioned it, he works in the salvage yard. How fucking hard would it be? He was bleeding.
Oh yeah, he had a cut on his
Cut on
finger
his
when
hand.
they first took
When they
him
first
in.
took him in. But he doesn't have any fingerprints in the car at all. He bled in the car. He left sweat DNA, but no fingerprints. So I don't know if he was starting it with his elbows.
The one that was right by the ignition looked like a fingerprint, but apparently it wasn't. The one that was in the back of the Jeep had like a swoop like
That's
this
hers.
to it. That was her blood?
Yeah, her blood's in
And,
the back.
and the way, okay, that makes sense. And the way that the CSI guy explained it was that pattern shows up in blood smatter when hair goes up against something and has blood on it and does one of these. Like, he explained what he thought it was.
That was her blood and hair in the
Okay,
very
I
back.
thought that was
He
it.
was right by the steering wheel and on the side of the seat.
Okay.
Because apparently what happened is he was wearing magic gloves that stopped your finger. He had those little Smurf things like from Gone in 60 Seconds on his fingertips.
I don't remember that, but okay.
You remember that, right?
Yeah, the king was still alive
Yeah.
because he was always pressing his fingerprints.
Right.
Okay.
So Stephen Avery had those. They didn't find the kid, but he had those. He took Teresa Hallbach.
put her in the back of the
How they
truck.
convicted anybody of raping somebody when there wasn't a body to prove, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
Okay. So apparently they took her into the,
That's all based on testimony from what's his face. That's where that
which
comes
was
from.
spoon-fed. But
Yeah.
apparently they took her into, the timeline goes like this. She showed up to take pictures. Brandon's brother took a shower before deer hunting, which people are wondering about, but that makes sense because you want to get your human
As long
in
as he
soap
didn't
stage
put a
on.
bunch of dumb soap shit on himself,
Right.
yes.
Okay, but I'm saying it's
Well,
plausible.
yeah, taking a shower before, yeah.
That was 2:45. He knows that.
Yes.
He got out of the shower at 3 o'clock, and she was walking towards Stephen's trailer. At 3 o'clock, his stepdad drove in and didn't see her at all or her car, so the car vanished at that point.
Yep.
At between 3:40 and 3:50, the school bus driver saw Teresa standing outside taking pictures of the van. So apparently she made it out of the trailer and her vehicle magically reappeared. And I tend to trust the bus driver because she, A,
knows
doesn't have a
timing.
vested interest, and B, has to have a good understanding of how long her route
That,
takes.
I would say the bus driver, I believe when she says she saw Tracy in the car and whatnot, because she actually, when they asked her, how do you know what time it was, she's like, I drive a bus route.
Then she
I have
left.
enough time
Then
to
the
do this.
the stepdad started showering, and he left to go deer hunting. Then Teresa Hallbach left because the propane guy saw her leave the Avery yard. The driver of a propane truck saw her car leave, but couldn't say who was driving it. Leave the yard. Then she doesn't show up to the party, the Halloween party she's supposed to go to that night. Her roommate doesn't get suspicious. Her family doesn't get suspicious. Her ex-boyfriend doesn't get suspicious. Then her mother says, hey, Teresa's voicemail's full. That's odd. Her brother guesses her password and listens to the voicemail. Then he goes and talks to her friends, and then he leaves to go talk to the police about her being missing. Sometime before that, Colburn calls in the plates. Calls, not calls.
Yeah, calls.
In the plates. So then they start organizing the search party. The search party. Sometime in there, Stephen apparently burned the body with a bunch of tires, which even doesn't make sense because when that occurred, she was brought in to the trailer, apparently stabbed and her throat cut, but she didn't bleed at all. Then she was dragged out to the garage, apparently put in the back of her car, driven the 10 feet from the trailer to the garage.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either.
Taken out of the truck, put in the garage, shot 11 times, revealing no blood splatter, and leaving only one bullet. Then loaded back into the car and drove the 20 feet to the burning pit, where they used tires as an accelerant, even though...
Tires don't burn hot enough.
And there's a salvage yard, so there's a lot of shit there that would burn better.
Shit.
And they had a smelter!
Yeah, they had a fucking smelter. Why
If you have an
throw
incinerator...
the body in the smelter?
But okay. Then somebody took the body, the bone remains...
Oh yeah, remains
shattered them.
Multiple places.
Because if you burn a body,
Bones are left.
the bones are left intact unless they were broke before.
Yep.
Shattered all the bones, spread some of them to a burning barrel along with Teresa's purse and phone that's actually on the Yonda property, not on Stephen Avery's
Next
property.
door property.
And then took some...
farther back to the pit, I think is what they call
no,
it.
to a gravel pit that wasn't even owned by the Averys.
Yeah.
It's off
Yeah, they
salvage
just
yard.
called it the pit.
A gravel quarry, and left some bones there where they were mixed with animal bones.
Yep.
And while that was happening, Brendan Dassey went back to the house at 5 o'clock and talked to his mom, because the murder happens between 3 o'clock and 10 o'clock is when all these events take place. Brendan Dassey went home at 5 o'clock and talked to his mom.
Played some
He
PlayStation.
played PlayStation during that time.
Got
Went
a
to the
phone call
bonfire
from
at
someone.
7.
Yep, went to the bonfire.
His brother Blaine left to go trick-or-treating at like 6.
He had already left before because he got a phone call from his brother's boss saying, "Where is he?" He's like, "He's trick-or-treating." That was part of the story.
And Stephen Avery's girlfriend called him from jail twice, once at 5 and once at 8.
What was she in jail for?
A DUI.
DUIs.
Which Stephen, on recorded phone calls, told her she needed to clean up and go to AA if they were going to get married because he wasn't having any trouble with the Manitowoc police.
Yeah.
He was not breathing heavy when he was talking because she called from jail. So guess what we have?
It's recorded.
The recordings of her talking to him. He's not breathing heavy. He's not running. He's not frantic. There's
Sounds
nobody
fine.
screaming in the background.
Yep. Seems perfectly calm. Everything's fine.
Once he even sounds like he might have been in bed when she called. The 9 o'clock, because he's really like, "What are you doing?" "Nothing. I'm just sitting here. We had a fire. I'm just getting ready." "Yeah. Love you too." "No, I want to hear you say it."
I'd say one
"I
thing.
know you said it, but I like to hear it."
I'm not pulling over for any cops in Manitowoc.
Dude, I'm not going into Manitowoc County if I don't have to.
Yeah.
Which sucks because my favorite restaurant is. Dude, just crazy. The timeline just doesn't fit. And then the judge doesn't give instructions to the jury, tells the defense they're not allowed to bring up any alternative to the crime.
Really?
They were not allowed to pose any alternative suspects other than Brendan.
Wait, well, when did he say that though? Because they proposed that the evidence was planted, making the cops the suspects.
Right, but that was they could not
Was it
say.
after that, I assume?
No, it was before that. They
Oh.
were told they could not say that someone else
Really?
killed Teresa
Besides
unless
Brendan.
besides Brendan. It's in the preliminary hearing if you watch it. But personally, plus Steve worked on the salvage yard, so he knew how to operate all that machine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like if I come to your house,
He grew up
hmm?
on the sub. Stephen Avery grew up on the sub.
Right, and then he worked there for the 2 years between his release and
Oh, true. That's right. He was
when
in jail
Halbach
for a
was
whole
killed.
bunch of that.
He was in jail for 18 years.
Yeah.
But he worked in the salvage yard after for 2
Tire
years.
pressures hasn't changed. It's still never.
And the other thing
Yeah,
is,
just put the car in.
if that chair over there breaks, Eric,
Yes.
and we come in the next week and it's fixed,
Okay.
Paulie did it.
well, Paulie probably broke it, but how did Tim fix it? That
Well,
metal folding chair over there. How did Tim,
He probably-
He put it in the car crusher?
Yeah, he might have welded it.
that's exactly right. Tim
Because
did put a
Timmy's
screw
got
through it.
welded.
Oh, you mean it didn't go in the car crusher?
No. But I just mean the things you know. If you want to get rid of
Yeah.
a car and you're on a salvage yard with a car crusher, you crush the car.
Crush the car. You want to get rid of a body, you got a smelter? Throw it in the fucking smelter. Makes fucking sense.
Sounds to me like you guys know an awful lot about this.
I know, right?
Plus there's
I'm
no
just
fence
saying,
around the
I
yard.
committed the crime.
There's no fence around the yard.
Around the yard of the house.
The salvage yard. There's no
Oh, yeah,
fence.
yeah, there's no fence.
So the public has access to it pretty much anytime they want.
Well, didn't we go over that last week? That makes it not a salvage yard because they don't have a fence and they
Yeah,
It's
no,
not
I
a
have a
junkyard though,
fence.
it's a
Oh, it's not a
salvage yard.
junkyard, it's a salvage
Junkyard has a fence in the dog.
Okay, yep.
This is a salvage yard.
Salvage yard, they're different.
So there's that. Personally, I think if you murdered somebody, you know what the best alibi would be?
What?
I was deer hunting.
Yeah? That's a pretty good
Well, there's
alibi.
blood on your clothes. Yeah, deer hunting, got a field dressed deer.
No.
You get blood.
Yeah. They can also test it.
Yeah, I'll say they test.
Right, they could
Well, yeah.
test it, but the police didn't follow any other lead. In fact, when they say the car was found in the Avery yard, the first cop they call and say, we have the car, he says,
we have Steven in
we
custody."
have Steven in custody.
Like the first, second thing he says in that phone call after he finds out it was the Avery property. Do we have Steven in custody?
Yeah. And they didn't explore any other leads. Bobby had scratches on his back that he said were from a puppy, and they dropped it. The ex-boyfriend and roommate hacked into her account and printed off her phone records. That's how the DA got
Oh yeah,
them.
yeah. They straight up guessed her password.
Guessed her password.
Hackers. They're hackers. Those guys are hackers. Found out her password and got her phone records.
Ben, did you read that book yet? Because
No.
when you read that book, you're going to think you're reading Stephen Avery.
I'm going to be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't start it, because I got it yesterday, and I'm like, my head only has room for one.
One.
Holy fuck. it's
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
well,
right.
do the whole Stephen Avery thing. Then
Then
read
I'll
the
read
book.
that. I will.
It's
I
gonna-
bought it.
Dude,
I'll
that
read it.
whole case is going to sound so familiar.
Just freaking.
But then they had something about it didn't really make any sense to the crime or anything like that. But they had they got her phone records and her message box was full, and that was the key part where everybody started thinking what's going on when her message box is full. And then later on, after they had all found out it was full, some of the messages went missing somehow. Some of the messages got deleted because people put newer messages on there. And the only people with access to it are the ex-boyfriend and the brother because they hacked into her accounts. That was something they never
And
really
the
explored. It was
And
just
the
kind of
ex-boyfriend is the person who gave the one camera
To the person
one
who
lady
found the
car,
vehicle?
who found that car after 10 minutes of being on the lot.
Yeah. Once again, that was all just a happy little treat.
God directed
God,
us what
yes,
she
she
said.
straight up said that. God told me to go there.
And they found the fucking plates for the car. Because the plates were not on it when they found it. They
Oh,
found
I thought
it
they
in
were.
another car. On a 40-acre salvage lot.
Really?
Yeah. That's
I
something that
didn't
was
know
left out of the
that.
documentary. The plates
Wow,
were
those
not in the
guys
car.
really covered everything. And
You know what else is
investigated.
really remarkable? The front left blinker is smashed out of the car,
Yeah.
and it was in the back.
Oh, taken out of the car and put in the.
But it wasn't broke when she showed up. She hadn't been in an accident before.
Okay.
Now, you can say somebody smashed the blinker going to hide the car,
Yeah.
then why did they pick it up?
Why'd you bother?
Because it looks more conspicuous being in the back than it would be a stray blinker laying on a salvage
Looking
car.
in a fucking salvage yard. Yeah, everything's just it's a little bit too eerie and
It's too magical.
yeah.
But again, not magical enough that I'm going to say the man's innocent.
yeah, oh yeah.
But his trial was
It
not
was a
fair.
bunch of fucking shit.
Because Manitowoc County should not have been involved in that investigation. And definitely not cops who were deposed and named in his
Yeah.
lawsuit. And the two cops, Colbert
And
Colbert, the guy who called in the plates and whatever, had gotten a call from Brown County Sheriff's Department, or either Brown County or Green Bay detective.
To be fair, the way I understood this one is he was only a corrections officer, so he was just working in jail. He wasn't out on the beat as a cop. He was working in a corrections office.
He was a jailer, not a corrections officer.
They had the guy. They had the guy from the rape.
Yeah,
caught
supposedly.
the guy. And
Or that was did that
they
end
caught
up being
Gregory out. Yeah.
Okay, that it was.
And they said, we got a guy here who's confessed to a crime,
And he never wrote a report until
he
8
made a
years
report
later
8 years later.
about that call.
Which says he transferred it.
Yes, he said he transferred it to detectives. I believe that's what he said, detectives.
Right, I told him he needed to talk to a detective when he transferred it.
Yeah.
Is what he said under oath, but that's not what he
Yeah.
said in his deposition.
Yep.
Or at least not what we saw. And then the other guy, James Link, is the guy who found the key, the
and
bullet, which they tested the bullet for DNA. They found Teresa's DNA, not blood.
Yep.
Teresa's DNA.
Teresa's DNA.
But the sample was contaminated.
It wasn't the sample, it was their control sample. It was contaminated by the experiment got fucked up because they contaminated it.
The control showed up with DNA in it,
Yeah.
which
And it
means the
should-
experiment should be voided.
Yes. And they didn't have enough
They
of the
used
DNA,
everything to
which is bad science.
right. They used everything in the one
In
and
the
only
first
test.
test.
So they had somebody come in and say that just because the control was compromised doesn't mean the experiment is invalid.
Which is bullshit.
But that's not science.
Yeah.
That's not how this
That's
works.
not how-
That's
that's
not
not
how
how
any of this works.
If you liked that video, watch our last one.
The difference between Let's Eat Grandma and Let's Eat Grandma. It's the difference
It's
between
got that punctuation.
helping your Uncle Jack off a horse and helping your Uncle Jack off a horse.
Or watch this one.
The red stripes on the American flag are to represent the blood of American soldiers, not how much you like dick in your ass. Oh.
Wally's upset.